Hey folks, it's Nick back with Planet TV. Happy to see you again. Hope you guys are doing well. I thought I'd have some fun with food scraps today and see what we can do, maybe regrowing something interesting. So I've seen a lot of these regrowing food scrap videos lately, and I kind of wondered to myself, most of them have different techniques for doing things, whether it's propagating in water or trying to regrow in water, or whether it's, putting it directly into soil and kind of hoping, wishing that it's going to grow. I kind of wondered to myself, hey, what if I just try both, see what happens? So I had some green onions in the fridge that had been sitting there for weeks. And I kind of wondered to myself, hey, you know what? Why don't I take a shot before, putting these in the compost or something? They still look like they might be okay. They're a little grungy, a little green. So they're kind of bordering on, I don't know, rotten. I'm guessing that they were kind of getting there. And, you peel back the layers and they're not looking too terrible at the end of the day. So 4 green onions. What can I do with these? Okay, well, why don't I give it a shot and see what happens? So these clearly aren't in the greatest shape, so I'm going to try and salvage what I can. Let's see here. So get these last little bits of onion skin off here. There's a few here left. This one's already broken here, so this looks like it's good enough a place as any to give it a chop. This guy, I'll try and keep it around the same. Maybe we'll give it 2 inches. This guy will also give something similar. Let's see here. Let's give it about the same. And this last one, the root's not looking so hot. Maybe we should let this one root for a little longer. So also a couple of inches. So I'm going to pop a couple of these guys into this handy shot glass full of water. See, these roots look pretty good. So I'm going to put the most rooted ones in the dirt. I'll put these guys, I think, in the water and see how they do. So it's a little shorter, but we'll work with that. So I'm going to trim a little bit more here because I'm going to put these guys in the ground. I'm going to trim these guys down to just above about 1 centimeter here. These two, I'll just even them out so you can tell where things are. There we go. So these guys, I will pop them into the water. See what happens. You can see that, clean cut. Okay. So what I've got here is a mixture of regular potting soil, a little bit of peat moss mixed in there, and then I'm going to top it off with a bit of compost with worm castings. Give that a shot. See how these guys do. Just going to poke. First I'll put a little bit of compost on top. Kind of mix it at the top. Teensy bit there. I like to break it up a little bit so it doesn't get too chunky. Chunkiness will block some of the growth. Make 2 holes here. 1, 2, kind of equidistant, one on either side. I bought these guys, clearly you want the root side down. So roots, you want them about 1 inch deep. And I'm going to cover them as much as I can. Put the other one in. Okay, kind of pack it down a tad. And then I'm going to cover this a little bit more with the compost mixture. And I'll water these guys in and see how they're doing tomorrow. So now that we've done our chopping and we planted a couple of our green onions and we put the other couple in water. So we've got these guys sitting in water, nice roots. These both look okay. So let's see how these go. I think actually one of them has got a little bit weaker set of roots than the other. And we've got these guys. Well, you can't really see them in there, but they're in there. If I poke around, there you go. You can see the tops of both these guys. I'll cover them back up a little bit. We'll pop these guys outside and we'll leave these guys inside. We'll check back in tomorrow and see how they're doing. So this is 24 hours, well, a little more than 24 hours, maybe about 30 hours after I planted these guys in water. These were cleanly chopped off. As you can see here, there is some new growth, and that's a good, 2.5 millimeters of new growth. It's pretty amazing. So we're just under 3 days in here. I want to take a look at these guys who I've had indoors Here you can see there's probably a good centimeter or close to it on one. And the other guy, a little bit less, but he's quite a bit wider. The root system's looking pretty good. I changed the water, I think, twice. And yeah, they have been kept indoors. I just brought them out so you can see them. And the other two guys, so these ones were in the dirt. And I watered them a couple of times. They look like they need water again. We're close to it here. As you can see here, they're not quite as big. There is some growth on there. Not as much as the ones kept directly in water. And my hypothesis is that probably after about a week, these are going to settle in the transplant shock and whatnot and start to pick up growth, whereas the other ones will probably stagnate a little bit. And I will transplant these into soil later on, but it's interesting to see what's going on after only not even 3 days. It's been about 2.5 days. Now we're at almost day 6. I think we're at 5 3/4 now. So you can see here, these are doing great. So these are the ones I've been keeping indoors in my kitchen, and they're almost double the stalk length. So you can kind of see how much has grown since pulling in the water. These were cut evenly at where the white is there. And now they are, at least one side of them, one of them is definitely just about double in size. That's looking pretty fantastic already. Now let's take a look at their partner in crime that I put into the dirt and see how those guys are doing. And I have been changing the water on these every day to 2 days just to keep it nice and clear. So I have a whole pile of propagated stuff going down over here. Most of these are looking pretty healthy. Clearly some bugs have been attacking a couple of my basil plants here. You can see how the leaves there, not looking too hot. Now let's see the green onion that I had planted. There we go. I see a little bit of green growth going on there. So these are the two that I had popped into a pot to see how they're doing. And that looks pretty good. This is kind of exactly what I expected. I was thinking of the ones that went into the dirt, sat outside. I watered them every couple of days. They're sitting in the sun most of the day here. I figured they'd take a little bit longer and then they'd start growing pretty nicely afterwards. So they were quiet for, I don't know, 3 days maybe. And all of a sudden I see something shooting out of there and they're looking pretty good. They're clearly not nearly as big as their brethren that have been sitting inside the house in water, but I figure these are going to catch up pretty quickly, and I'll probably put in the water propagated ones in dirt in the next week or so, just to see how they're doing. But we'll keep this up and keep checking it. So this is almost day 6, just shy of day 6. All right, so now it's day 8. Yeah, sorry guys, I missed a day here. Busy weekend, missed that Sunday. So we're on day 8 of the onion regrowing experiment. It's a little on the bright side out here, so sorry for the squinting. I thought I'd start off with the green onions that I put into the dirt. Now, as I thought, these guys did grow a pretty decent amount. They actually look quite healthy in there, and I did think they'd pick up after a few days of transplant shock, so not really surprised at the growth there. They're looking pretty healthy. I experimentally pulled one of these guys out just to show you guys the root growth. Here we go. Give it a little quick jiggle. See if I can pull it out without hurting it too badly. And you can see here, wow, the roots are probably close to double in size what I put them in at. So that's in 8 days. Wow, you can really smell the green onion from here too. It's amazing. So you can see exactly where the cut was, right where the white ends there. And that's how much growth you've got in 8 days and change, eight and a bit days. So I will pop that guy back in the soil. Wow, you know you've had a long day when you accidentally pick up some green onions instead of your own coffee. So you know what are you going to do? So these guys looking pretty fantastic after almost 8.5 days now, probably thereabouts. You can see they've got a little bit of extra growth even at the bottom here. It looks like a whole other sprout coming in on both of them, which is pretty awesome. Root growth, I'd say, is probably less so than what was planted into the dirt, but still good. The roots are nice and white, looking pretty healthy. And I think what I'm going to do now, and honestly, I think the bottom end of the actual bulb end here is looking thicker than it was when it went in. Now that's anecdotal. I'm not entirely sure if that's true or not, but that's what it looks like to me. And the roots definitely look pretty nice. I think the last thing I'm going to do here, they've got more than almost 3 times taller than it was originally. I'm going to pop these guys in the dirt next to their brethren here, and I think we'll check back in a couple of weeks and show you guys the results after being in the ground for 3 weeks plus. So yeah, I guess the regrowing food scrap green onions thing is actually a truth, not a myth. So it's pretty amazing that you can get that much kind of growth out of what was going to end up in a landfill or your compost at the end of the day. So I'd suggest if you're somebody like myself who buys a reasonably large amount of green onions from the grocery store, you may want to think about doing this instead of just buying them. Regrowing them, I think if you buy 1 pack of green onions, you're probably able to feed yourself green onions for the rest of the time afterwards. All right, so I went ahead and repotted these guys into a larger pot to give them a little bit more breathing room now. So as you can see, I've got the 2 that I had grown indoors on one side, and I've got the 2 that I had grown outdoors on the other side. A couple little addendum notes to anybody who's curious. I did find that the green onion smell, like the odor of green onions, much more pungent from those that were grown outdoors. It's kind of an interesting little fact there. And the other thing I wanted to mention was that I noticed even though the green onions that were grown, as you can see comparison-wise, the ones that were grown indoors in water, in a windowsill, sort of sunny in the morning, definitely feel a little drier than the ones that were outside. Now, this could just be a relative humidity thing because the ones that were outside got a little bit of rain. They were covered by a tree, but the odd drop fell in there, and they were watered from above, which may make a difference. But we don't have any air conditioning, so I can't really explain the dryness factor. I had the window open, but definitely the ones that were indoors a little drier than the ones that were outdoors. But there you have it. So regrown food scrap green onions. I'll try and grab another video in a couple of weeks thereabouts and see how things are going, and I'll give you guys an update. But you know what? Try it at home. Let me know how it works out for you. So I'll give you guys a little quick update on this this green onion patch that I started off. So you can see now it's been I think 2 weeks today since I put these guys into water and dirt at the same time. I'd say actually the ones that were originally in the dirt are these guys on the left, and they're actually outgrowing the ones that were in the water now. You see these guys, the ones that were in the water, they've forked and they look pretty good too. But they are a little drier than their siblings here. You can see they have the taller stalks at the bottom. These are the ones that I put in afterwards. But yeah, they're looking quite healthy. And probably another couple weeks and these are going to be harvestable already. So pretty cool what you can do with food scraps. All right, so I lied. I'm going to give you one final view of these guys. So it's been 3 weeks and 2 days since I put these in the dirt and water. So that's 23 days of growth. And as you can see, these are pretty much full-fledged green onions now. I could technically harvest some of this now if I really wanted to. I'm probably going to wait a little while, let them flesh out a bit more. But yeah, they're looking fantastic. And so there you go. So as you can see, soil grown and water grown pretty much evened out at this point. They look pretty similar. Can't even tell anymore which ones are which. This is Nick with Planted TV signing out. If you like this content, please do hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of it, hit the subscribe button. We'd love to have you aboard for our ongoing journey of learnings and newfangled gardening techniques. So thanks for being here, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.